Yo, 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 it's your boy Sneaky from R&R, recognition and respect. Tune in every Monday from 8 to 9 to catch up with me and my adventures and hear from my guests ranging from artists to entrepreneurs and much, much more. Catch us every Monday of the week on the west side of the after party. See you at the party, y'all.
Think about the hustle, the hustle, the hustle, the hustle. Think about the hustle.
They'd rather see me lose. They'd rather I was singing the blues. They'd rather act like I never paid dues, cause they'd rather see me lose. They'd rather see me lose. See me lose.
I was born to lose. Born to a family of violence, conceit and hardcore drug abuse. I got nothing to prove, no need to improve. Embrace the negativity and stay in my groove. Don't say shit unless you've been in my shoes. I'm chugging the brews, pounding the booze, all the while popping these blues. Overreacting like I got a short fuse. Oh, did you miss a clue? Well, allow me to deliver. I'm serving bad news, robbing liquor stores with exposed tattoos. Life's overwhelming, pressure's breaking my screws. Step to this, you get socked up. I mean battered and bruised. No excuse, seek my pain, I'm amused. Simple and plain, I refuse. Impossible to face the problem, see it's my own attitude.
Think about the hustle. Think about the hustle. Think about the hustle.
They'd rather see me lose. They'd rather I was singing the blues. They'd rather act like I never paid dues, cause they'd rather see me lose. They'd rather see me lose. See me lose. When you've been through what I've been and seen what I've seen, staying high over that green is like an everyday thing. Around my way things ain't always what they seem. No one is squeaky clean. Some are shooting for the stars, steady following their dreams. Others shot for the gutter and made it. Never was and never gonna be because they ain't shit. The type of cats that don't even be taking care of their kids. I don't play with toys, no boy, I'm on my grown man shit. And oh boy, you'll be destroyed off my close hand shit. I flow and spit, y'all not equipped to get with this knowledge, so pay homage. I'm on my old man shit. Old man, it's about to get hot because I'm heated. Plus I never been defeated, top seated, never cheated. All my ways caught on a fair one. I dare sons to try and shine. This thought consumes whole crews. It ain't worth the work unless it's hard work, and you'll never see me lose.
Everybody struggles. Everybody struggles. Everybody struggles.
They'd rather see me lose. They'd rather I was singing the blues. They'd rather act like I never paid dues, cause they'd rather see me lose. They'd rather see me lose. See me lose.
Everybody struggles. Everybody struggles. Everybody struggles. Everybody struggles. Everybody struggles. Everybody struggles. Everybody struggles.
What's up, party people? How y'all doing? Welcome back to Recognition and Respect with your boy SHNEAKY on the west side of the after party. Man, I'm tired. I don't know why I'm tired. Actually, I do know why I'm tired, but I can't tell y'all why I'm tired. So let me just start by telling y'all why we're able to do this every week. It's because of our awesome sponsors. This show is sponsored by, first and foremost, Night Flare Company, a film music production and booking company that is made up of JQ Sounds, who does live audio engineering and live recording. Napalm Monkey and Flying Chimp, who do all kinds of different videos, drones, music videos, artist showcase, any kind of video content. Frankie Valentine, who does in-studio music production and recording, as well as SHNEAKY Entertainment, who does marketing and booking. And we have a list of promoters such as Alternative Shows LA and Range and Blue Line District and a couple other people who are constantly booking new acts, finding new venues, and putting together dope shows to bring together all of these different elements. So if you need any of that, multimedia, any kind of production, event production, booking, reach out to the Night Flare Company. Oh wow, my throat's messed up. Hold on, let me take some water real quick. Sorry, people. too much weed smoke. And if you're like me and you smoke too much weed and maybe you want to start doing, edibles or try micro dosing, I suggest you check out the homegirls at Dude Drops Delights. We actually put we put a date on the book, so we'll be bringing them in to talk about their product. But they are the home of the Wake and Bake Bar. And they use high quality ingredients, wholesome breakfast bar, oats, nuts, chocolate, THC, 12-hour infusion process to make sure they get the most amount of THC. The bars are delicious. They help you stay regular. They get you high. They also have this thing called the Joy Juice, which is their green dragon tincture. It's 190 proof alcohol that used a 30-day extraction process, and it's basically a little bottle with a dripper, and you can drip different levels of THC into anything, food, drinks, anything. It's a little enhancer, a little more low key, helps you microdose, helps you if you're you can't smoke or you're trying to get away from smoking. It's a good alternative. Honestly, I dig their products. That's why they're sponsors. They hook me up with free stuff. It's bomb. I use it. And so if you're interested in edibles, check them out. Dude Drops Delights. Of course, my band, The Midnight Motives, their new album, Visions, is available on iTunes, Spotify, and everywhere where music is streamed and bought. So support them. They're dope. They have a dope eclectic style. If you're into music, even if you're not, I suggest, you support the podcast. If you like the conversations we're having, just continue to support those who support us because we're trying to build up these economies, sustainable. A couple more sponsors. Cultivarte, episode 1, my boy Ray. He makes all my merch, shirts, CDs, pins, stickers, hoodies, hats, long sleeves, whatever you need. My boy is constantly upping his game and really he's helped me a lot with my branding and how to make myself have more diverse sources of income by having clothing and stickers and just more options, and that's what I've noticed a lot since I've been working with a lot of vendors. I've noticed that the people who have a larger setup with a more variety of options, they make more sales because you're opening yourself up to a wider audience, right? So me as a musician, as an artist, as a DJ, that's one avenue that I can make money, either playing music or getting paid to perform. But once you have merchandise and you have different types of merchandise and you start expanding what your online store could look like, well, now you've opened up a whole new economy, different revenue sources. So keep that in mind. And if you're looking for merch or to find a way how to brand yourself and get yourself, something tangible, giveaway, a swag, hit up my boy Cultivarte Studios. So. And finally, last but not least, Awakening Authenticity is a self-help, motivational, personal development blog started by my high school friend, Sin Arias. And basically, it was just out of a need for her to find out how to elevate herself and get herself in a more pure mindset. And she realized, there's a need for this. People are looking for resources, looking for gurus, looking for powerful quotes, looking for insight, looking for any kind of, information. Information is the most powerful thing. Today we live in the age of information, so the more you know, the more you can read, the more you can gather from other people's wisdom, other people's experiences. It's all out there on the internet. So homegirl came here, she paid the fee, she wanted to try to get us some traffic to her page, she wanted to try to get her message out, and that's what we did, So those are my sponsors. Again, I appreciate each and every one of you for seeing the vision, keeping it alive week after week, allowing me to talk to my awesome guests. And before I get to my guest today, super excited about my guest today, I got to talk about Adventure Time because I had a packed week, man. On Tuesday after the show, we did Katie Jake's. It was lit. I got lit. I ended up crashing out there in West Co. And the next day, I woke up. And I got stood up, and then I ended up going to meet up with the homegirl Shanti Creative, who I'm going to be bringing on the show soon. But essentially, she spent the last year building up this brick and mortar, this showroom that was also like a gallery and a fashion design where they, had clothes and different things for sale. And essentially, she's not being able to renew her lease. So after a year of working so hard to make this space, this vibrant artist showroom, it's going away. So I helped her pack some stuff up. Super sad, but at the same time, you gotta look at everything like a blessing, or look at everything as like just another challenge, another step in the road, another disruption that's getting to you where you need to be at, right? Because at some point, if there is a plan, as long as you're staying true to yourself, you're gonna get pushed and pulled, but you're always gonna land on your path. So shout out to Shanti for working really hard for that, and I'm sorry that you lost your space, but we're on to bigger and better things, baby girl, so don't trip. Then I DJ'd at UC San Diego for the graphic studio's 10-year anniversary, and y'all know I love going back to SD. It always recharges my batteries. It's always nice to run into people who I used to work with, who have been following me on social media and are super proud about all the things I'm doing about. Just, it's such a reminder that there are a lot of folks that are rooting for me and watching the journey. So as much as I do this for myself every day, I got to remember that there's like this bigger picture that's going on. And last but definitely not least, I think it's finally safe to say that I've probably secured one of my largest clients now, and I hope I'm not speaking too soon. So David, if you're listening, I'm sorry. But Border X Brewing in Bell is finally going to be doing their grand opening in March of this year, and I've been contracted to run their event calendar, and so I'm going to essentially be running a venue in my neighborhood that's going to be a platform for all the local artists, as well as people that are coming from all over. It's going to be a chance to really cultivate some legit culture in the hood. I feel like we haven't had a potential to have a venue like this since the Allen Theater, and that's like historical shit. So I'm super happy to be a part of it. Super excited. March 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, we're gonna have a huge grand opening, and then the rest of March I'll be programming, and then if all goes according to plan, that's gonna be my gig. So going forward, Border X will be a sponsor, hopefully, of the show. And I'm going to be talking about all the dope things that we're doing with them as far as bands and DJs and community events, and trying to build up this community center, this I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot to process. I'm still trying to figure out what that's going to look like, and honestly, I'm super excited. This is something that I've been working on for the past 3 to 4 months, and it's finally coming together. So I don't know. It's I haven't processed it all yet, but I went out and got a tattoo to celebrate. So thank you, Eric Inspired One, for fitting me in. Yeah, and that's how real this shit is out here. So without further ado, damn, my throat is fucking with me. My guest today, Senor Darkside.
Yes,
Mr. Amaya, 90024.
Yes, sir.
Say what's up to the people, Darkside.
What's happening, ladies and gentlemen, peoples out there? I go by the name of Darkside90024, the illustrious and praiseworthy Mr. Amaya, and just doing my thing. I'm from Northeast LA, the King Island Park.
Nella Claus.
Yeah, during the Christmas time, I'm Nella Claus. I wear a lot of different hats, but basically I'm just an artist, MC, a poet, songwriter, and I teach for a living, do a whole bunch of things.
So if someone was to ask you, what do you do? Is that how you would tell? Is that what you would tell them?
Yeah, I'd first ask them how much time do they have, so I could run down the line. But yeah, so I think first and foremost, my energy is that I'm an artist. I create. It's what keeps me sane. And as we all know, artists are already a little crazy as it is. So
yes, sir. Yes, we are.
By releasing my art, that's how I maintain the balance, putting it out to the world and letting other people consume it. But I do it for me. First and foremost, I make art for myself. I like to listen to myself. I like the way I sound. I like the way I put words together. And if other people get something out of it, then that's a bonus. So, and then like I said, I teach for a living, but I'm happy in the sense that I actually like my job.
Right.
When I wake up every morning, well, maybe not every morning, but most mornings.
Most mornings.
I'm ready to go, and at the end of the day, when I lay my head to rest, I feel like I did something. I'm a revolutionary. I'm a revolutionary thinker. I'm an activist. And so the way that I plan to change the world is one young mind at a time. I try to lay out a groundwork, and so that's the best way I could do it is fight the fight from within, and teach the youth not what to see, but where to find information.
I feel
how
you.
to use that information, how to process it, how to understand it, and it's my way of trying to make the world a better place.
Hey, dog, it's a noble cause, and with the whole teacher strike and all that, obviously,
yeah, we'll definitely.
There's a lot of controversy about what how much it's valued, but
yeah. So I think it's one of the last of the noble professions, one of the last of the noble callings. And then I also do some activism. I'm a member of the Hip Hop Congress, which is a national nonprofit organization. So people interested, they can look up hiphopcongress.com.org. Either one, I believe, goes there. And it's a movement that I've been involved with since 2001, and it's changed over the years. But under the guidance of my man Ramin Jamal, he's the president, and he's kind of revitalizing the national organization. So that's one of my activist roles, a hip hop activist. I try to bring quality music to places where it just isn't now. And I also am affiliated with an organization called Artists United to End Homelessness. Our goal is to end homelessness. We don't want to just go out and feed the homeless and give them socks and jackets and blankets, although that's cool, they need it, so help. I'm not saying not to help, but we need to attack the root of the problem and actually eliminate homelessness, because there's something like 18 million vacant homes in the country, and we only have about 13 million homeless. So we could actually we have more vacant homes than we have homeless people.
Right.
So we could put everybody in a home and still have homes for the market. So, but this is a capitalist society, and it's hard to think that way. So we're trying to use art to change people's perspective and raise awareness about this.
Definitely. Like John Safari said, why don't we put all the people without homes in the homes without people, right? Super simple,
exactly,
but not. And actually, you reached out. One of the reasons why we first connected, well, first of all, we connected through my old high school band teacher.
Yeah.
Shout out Fernie.
Yeah, Fernando Amadez, shout out.
But once you rocked my show and we talked after, you did reach out about Artists United to End Homelessness, and that's one of the things that you really wanted to collaborate on and get me involved in. So that's kind of how our conversations outside of just performing and music and hip hop kind of developed.
And that's what I want to do. That's kind of the, I want to change the world, and so the youth is one way, but this is another way, because that's a very revolutionary idea.
Right.
Is ending homelessness, because it goes against capitalism, right? I don't think there's a capitalist that will say publicly, we need homelessness in order for this system to run. But it's true, right? That if they have the homeless to point at and say, if you don't do what we say, if you don't follow our rules and play our game, that could be you.
Right.
So it doesn't benefit them to end this scourge. Homelessness is a scourge, right?
Yeah.
It's like police. They're not interested in ending crime. They're interested in managing it.
Right.
Right. And in some cases, they even perpetrate it so that they can have a reason to police. Doctors aren't.
Same thing I was going to say. The health profession could be the same.
Yeah, they're not in the
thing.
interest of curing anything. They're in the interest of
Managing
prolonging
disease,
diseases and prolonging care so they can make money. Because capitalism's number one focus is making the most amount of profit for the least amount of expense. The cost. So I function in a capitalist society. I use money definitely, but to me it's a tool. And I think that I would rather my taxes went to housing people and feeding people and educating people, not to killing people for resources.
And I think if you were to give anybody that option, those two things, they would agree,
Yeah,
right?
definitely. We always talk about this, that there's very few people in the world that will say, "Nah, homelessness is cool. We don't need to do anything about it."
Yeah, right. No, you're not gonna.
Most people are gonna say, "Yeah, it's a problem.
an
We need to
issue."
do something about it."
But
the
then-
issue is then they don't want it in their backyard. They're
Right,
like, I want a shelter,
or
but
they
it's not here."
demonize those people. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, we do need to fix those people and get
It's
them to
their
stop being
fault.
lazy and
They're
get them to
lazy,
stop
yeah.
being on drugs or
Yeah.
whatever. Well, that was a legit. That's probably the most powerful intro I've had. Maybe one of the most for sure.
Right,
Because I
thanks.
feel like in that one little segment we did right now, people could kind of understand where you're coming from, how you think.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's take it back a little bit, give a little bit of backstory. So, how long have you been doing music? How long have you been teaching? And like, what kind of wanted you to get into those things in the beginning? Are they connected or?
Well, so music. So I started writing poems for girls in like the 5th grade, right? I used to impress girls with my ability to write poems about them or with their name and stuff like that.
In the 5th grade.
And then
Impressive.
in the 6th grade, I was introduced to hip hop by my older half brothers who would come down from San Bernardino every other weekend. And one weekend they brought like a Curtis Blow tape or something. I think the first one was that they watched Beat Street on TV, and I watched it because I had to,
Fucking
right? I didn't.
Beach Street, dog.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
I didn't get to pick what we watched, so. But I was like geeked on it, right?
Yeah,
and then the next time they came down, they had like a Curtis Blow tape, right? America, and I stole it and I hid it. And so whenever they were gone, I'd be playing it, and then I'd be watching this, American Bandstand and copying the dance moves, and Soul Train and copying the dance moves. And then you see like the New York City Breakers on Soul Train or on American Bandstand, and so then I see breakdancing, which I saw in the movie, and that just opened me up. And so I started with breakdancing, and then I realized that the ability to write poems, that's what raps were. So I started making up little raps. And so whereas I started the poems to impress the girls, the raps were to impress the homies, the older kids.
Right.
And so, that's how I got in, is I would just make up little raps for people. They tell me, "Oh, rap about this." And I just freestyle something, just 4 bars, and I liked it. And then I just got more and more into it, and it was easy for me. And then I got struck by knowledge of self in about the 10th grade, and started rapping with some kids that were from like the Mid-City area, right? My homeboy Savant One, shout out to the homie Savant. He came from like Hamilton High School area, where like Merce and Thes One and Double K from People Under the Stairs, like all the classic LA underground heads, they were all in and around that area. And so I went from like loving gangster rap, and then I used to call myself MC Money. I had a $sign etched in my head. I had $sign earring. I had a $sign money clip with no money in it, but everything was MC
Bling,
Money.
bling, bling, yeah.
And I used to rap like, I don't know if you remember Crisscross, basically like, "It's the miggity miggity Mac Daddy, riggedy riggedy rockin'." I used to do that riggedy miggity style. And so one day these cats approached me like, "Hey, look, I seen you signed up for the talent show, like bust something." So I started with the miggity miggity shit, and they kind of like laughed at me.
Yeah.
And then they busted, and they were on some abstract, like dope hip hop shit.
Right.
That just got me wide open. And then I started hanging out with them cats, and they put me up on game and took me around some of those people that I mentioned that were like, they were the in the beginning of the LA underground hip hop scene. So I had that exposure and whatnot, and I just kept doing it. And the problem is that I got into drugs in like the 11th grade.
Yeah, classic
And
story.
I still would rap, but we'd be smoking P dogs and I'd be rapping. But while I was caught up doing that, the homies were out doing shows, and they were meeting people, and they were making music,
recording,
yeah,
networking.
And so all those cats ended up, going out, becoming the living legends, touring around the world before they were 21, while I'm over there smoking P-Dogs with the homies. They weren't really my homies, to tell you the truth. And then shout out to the homie Savant again. That fool snatched me up one day and was like, "Yo, bro, I don't like that shit. Like, if you want to hang out with me, you can't be doing that shit no more." And I thought about it. I was like, well, fuck, this fool really doesn't, he wouldn't press the issue if it wasn't major.
Right.
And it kind of woke me up, and I kind of kicked the habit. And, but by then it was too late. Everything kind of passed for a second. And so I joined the Army. And, because I wanted to go to college. I knew that, but I didn't have no money. So I joined the Army right out of high school. And I did that for 2 years, and I stacked some money, and I bought some turntables with a little sampling mixer and stuff like that. And I just progressed from there. And then a friend that I went to school with, he inherited a business, and so he gifted me a $3,000 check, and I bought my first Pro Tools rig in 1998. And I've just been making music since then, just recording and making my own music.
So when did the teaching start happening? Well, you obviously got out of the Army, went to college eventually.
So when I got out of the Army, I went to recording school, the LA Recording Workshop, and I learned how to be a recording engineer's assistant. And I got my certificate, and I got a job at Enterprise Recording Studios, which no longer exists. But it was a major recording studio at the time. Like Grammy hits were made in those studios.
Right.
I was around people who I had their CD at home, or I had just saw them on MTV, and here they are in the studio, hanging out. So, but I got into the music business and the studio business because I wanted to be a rapper, and I thought, well, I'm gonna meet some rappers, I'm gonna let them hear me, they're gonna like me, and they're gonna sign me. And
that's so easy, right?
Yeah, but it wasn't. So I found that out because I was actually I delivered food to one of the sessions, and then the home was like, "Yo, come in here." So I went in there, and it was Redman and Method Man were in there, right? And so they wanted to order a box of blunts each, and then some like Hennessy and shit like that. And so the engineer, he was this cool cat. I know his first name's Bob, but I cannot remember for the life of me what his last name is, and it'll come to me sometime.
Sorry, Bob.
But he was a well-known engineer. Made a lot of money, did a lot of hits, and he was like, "Oh, yo, Darkside raps," and Red and Method Man were like, "This white boy," and the assistant engineer was like, "Yeah, he's actually pretty good." And they were like, "Well, I know you know what's up," because I guess he had, showed him some music. They asked him what he listened to, and he played them some stuff, and they were surprised about what he listened to.
What his taste was, yeah.
So they were like, "Run that beat." So the engineer hit the beat, and I started freestyling, right? And so I'm hyped. I'm like giving my best freestyle performance ever. And I'm done. And then so those fools start rapping, and so we're ciphering in the studios, passing a blunt around, and I'm working, mind you. And then so we're done with the little session, and I'm like, all right, so yeah, what's up? When let's talk a record deal. What's up? Give me a deal. And these fools were kind of like, well, nah, man, that's not how it works. Like, we don't have no power to give no record deals.
Right, they didn't own their label.
We don't own. Yeah, at this time they didn't. Nowadays they might have been able to.
Yeah, if you met them now, they could do whatever they you need.
Yeah, but then they had. I mean, Red and Meth were doing the Blackout album in the studio, so. They hadn't, Meth had just done the first to Cal. So, but yeah, so they, that's when I realized. And then I had a engineer named Dave Pensado. You should check him out. Shout out to Dave Pensado, Pensado's Place. He's another hit maker. And an assistant engineer was playing my music while he was setting up when Dave came in. And so he went to turn it off, and Dave's like, nah, leave it on. I like it. So we listened to it, and... Dave listened to it, and then one day he called me in, and he's like, hey, look, I like your stuff. You got talent. He's like, I could get you a record deal if you want. And I'm like, cool. So then he was like, all right, well, we're going to go have dinner, and we're going to talk about this, and then I'll set you up some appointments out depending on how the talk goes. Well, the talk was basically, he was telling me, like, look, I like your content, but the people I'm going to introduce you to, they're going to want your talent, not what you're saying,
right?
But your ability to sound good saying it. So they're going to give you songs, music, image, everything. It might not be what you want. It might not be up your alley. He's like, so I want you to know this, because I don't want you to get in the business and can't do your music right away how you want to do it and be like, Dave sold me out.
Ever told you. Yeah.
So he wanted to tell me that. And being young, 23 years old, and an idealist, I was like, I don't want to compromise my artistic integrity.
Gotta do my thing. Have to be me.
My words were, exactly, I don't want to compromise my artistic integrity for any amount of money. Now, if 42-year-old me could go back and tell 23-year-old me one thing, it would be...
Take the deal, fam.
Take it. You never know what's going to happen. So
we'll get to your tips later, bro.
When people ask what would you do differently, that is usually the number one answer. However, I usually answer 99% of the time that I wouldn't change a thing, because I have 3 beautiful children, that are my world, and I have a job that I like.
And we still haven't gotten to why you started teaching yet.
Yeah, right. So long story short,
Yeah,
or
thanks.
short story long, whatever. I decided after 3 years in the music business, in the recording studio business, where I wasn't getting a record deal, I was like, I need to do something different. So I went out to the desert with some friends and ate some mushrooms, and my spirit guide came to me and told me to...
Mushrooms. You hear that, Brittany?
Yeah.
Mushrooms.
He told me that that I should go into education and become a teacher. So I signed up at Cal State LA, and I got my degree, my bachelor's degree in English with the teaching credential option, and I followed up and got the teacher credential. And I started teaching in 2006 at Marshall High School when it was a multi-track school. And I was out in the bungalows.
Is that where you met Barlos?
Changing lives. Yeah, Barlos was one of my students in that class. Yeah, 2006, 2007.
That first
year.
class.
Yeah.
No way.
It might have been my first or second. I was there for 2 years.
Wow.
One of those 2 years, he was my student. I don't remember exactly what year. But I've had a handful of students that I ran into. But he's the first one that I ran into that's like rapping.
Yeah.
That's like doing it. I had some students that I taught, and while I was teaching them, they wanted to rap, and we worked and stuff like that. But this was the first time where I didn't really influence directly. And one day, as adults, I'm sitting there at your spot at the speakeasy, and I hear Mr. Amaya, and like nobody calls me that. Everybody calls me Darkside in the streets.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, who the f is this? And it turns out it's Barlos, man. And he's like, yeah, I rap now. I was like, wow. So yeah, it's funny how the world works, man. 360 degrees on the rotation.
So you never wanted to be a teacher? Like that wasn't something that you thought about growing up?
Yeah, no, you know what it was? It was. I thought about it. I had thought about it. But it wasn't my focus. It was always something that was like, yeah, that sounds cool, but I never really was serious about it till I was serious about it.
Right. That's cool.
But it's one of the greatest decisions I ever made. It's like I really enjoy my job. When I'm out with my homies and they're talking shit about their bosses or talking bad about they hate their job, I'm like, man, I can't feel you,
You're blessed.
bro.
You don't have those problems.
I'm like, you guys enjoy this conversation. I'm going to go talk to these girls over here because I ain't got nothing in common with y'all. I might as well see what I got in common over there with them. So,
all right. We covered the first half of the recognition. We got to know who you are, the teacher, the activist. So let's get into this respect part because we've had conversations where you told me that you have made money off of music. You have been able to throw shows where you're able to pay people and walk away with some cash. You are, we kind of touched on it, like this social justice advocate, united against, to end homelessness, the teacher strike. So let's get into this. So business, money, music, you tried doing that. It worked. It didn't work. What's your experience with that?
So I mean, personally, man, I'm not a businessman. I'm an artist, and I'm bad at business. Even when I was selling weed, I was bad at it. I smoked more, and I was instead of selling it to the homies, I'd smoke with them, and then they just get a gram instead of an eighth because we smoked an eighth of my stash.
Right.
So I just never really been good at selling things and selling myself or anything like that. So. But I did put on shows, and I was good at organizing those, and that was selling a vibe, and that was a little easier. You know what I mean?
Than to sell music or to sell weed.
Yeah. I curated a stage, and I collaborated with other people that had a brand existing already, and I would take over for one night. So they had a weekly, and so one night a month, I would take over their upstage stage.
So something kind of that was already established a little bit.
Yeah, and so basically I got known for when the Melting Pot was at Urban Underground, they knew that it was quality music was going to be there, right? Because they seen a couple of my shows, and they might not have known the artist, but they were dope. Because I curated that stage. I didn't let just anybody rap. I had to vouch for them.
Right.
There was like one or two times where...
And you had your ear to the street. You had homies. You knew what good music was.
I mean, for real, that we were plugged in. And there was plenty of people who were willing to perform at that time just to get stage time. And so getting paid was the bonus. And so since we were charging at the door and I was taking a cut of the door, if I had money in my pocket, I was breaking bread. Because I always like to break bread with my peoples more than just somebody I don't know. Or,
right.
So... and I'm not a greedy fool who's going to walk away with a pocket with, $300 when my DJ brought equipment and worked the whole night, So I made sure I paid them at least $100. And then, the acts that had the most people there and had the crowd reaction and were really putting on a really good show, that's who I would break bread with because they, obviously put in as much work or or slightly less work than I did just putting it all together in the first place.
Right.
You know, and it was cool because it got people exposure to a fan base that they didn't have, that were there because it was Darkside's melting pot.
Right.
And they knew that it was going to be quality music, you know. So
at that point, you were kind of creating the platform for these acts to get on.
Yeah, and
so
that was what Hip Hop Congress was about.
Right.
So they had the outlet, you know. We made a space for acts that wouldn't normally have an outlet and put them on stages with those that did. So that way it was synergistic.
There was
right?
some balance to it, yeah.
Yeah, there was some people who nobody knew, and they had 3 or 4 people in the crowd, and then there were acts that were, you know,
but even
at least known in the LA underground.
Even those acts that weren't known, they were still dope.
They were still good, yeah. They still had quality music pumping out, and they were moving towards that, you know. Like I said, there was one night where I put somebody on the strength of another person's word, and they were garbage. And then there was another night where I put somebody on the strength of another person's word, and they blew my mind. It was dope. So I was like, wow, this is cool. And then Hip Hop Congress is national. So whenever people from from out of town were in town, if I had a night, or we would coordinate, they'd hit me up like, hey, when's your next night? And I'd tell them, and they'd book a couple different shows for the weekend they're going to be out here.
Right, of course.
And then they'd come and do my show. And since they came from all the way out of town, I would usually at least, you know, feed them, take them to eat or something.
Right.
Or, you know, break them off with at least a couple bucks for, you know, so they could get some food on the way back to the hotel. Because they were paying their own way. They got their own hotel, or they might have negotiated that as part of the deal
from the other shows. Yeah.
So, you know, we did. We had an outlet and a platform that was really good. It was community-based. It was in my neighborhood. You know, it moved around a couple times, but I had a lot of fun doing it. But then I didn't have fun doing it anymore, and it got to be like a job, and the scene changed. You know, the scene
what do you
changed.
mean?
Well, Pay to Play killed underground hip-hop. So
hear that, Brittany? Every time we got it. So every time Pay to Play comes up, every time.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's the model now, and it's accepted. But like I said, I used to curate a stage, and Pay to Play doesn't do curation. Their curation is based on who can afford to get on stage,
right? Or who has enough fucking friends and abuelas.
Exactly.
And
I mean, there's a promoter that I will not name, and there's a group that he's affiliated that I will not name, that used to pay $500 to get on his stage and to get the prime spot, regardless if they brought anybody or anything like that. And they were garbage, but they had money, and money talks. So, you know, and so Pay to Play made it so that anybody that can put money in the pockets of the promoter was going to get stage time. And so it was like robbing Peter to pay Paul, right? You would charge the local acts, make them sell tickets, and if they didn't sell the tickets, they still had to pay for whatever they had committed to, and you take that money and then you pay your headliner, right? Who
so
hopefully
that you're not on the hook.
So you're not on the hook for it. So all your expenses are paid, and then you take the door, and that's in your pocket, and then you take your bar cut, and that's in your pocket, and you make out like a bandit, you know. And the local talent's left holding the bag at the end of the day because they paid, they came out the pocket,
right?
And SHNEAKY started that, so you know.
And I think, like, I mean, I've had this conversation with a couple of people. It's like, if you know what you're getting yourself into, if it's a big enough act that you really want to, you want to be able to open up for, and you know you can sell the tickets, then it's not that bad. Like, you know what you're getting yourself into. You know you're gonna be on the hook for the money, but it's worth it because you get to open up for a big act, and you think you have the people.
Definitely from the artist side,
it could be a good investment.
So, but the only way it works from the other side, from the participant or spectator side, is if your opening acts are good, and they don't have to be in order to be Pay to Play. So what ends up happening is your headliner brings people in, and it's empty until right before the headliner comes on. So even your opening acts, they might have a little buzz, and they might bring people in, but this huge venue is empty until right before the headliner comes on, and then that's when people start showing up. So Pay to Play's idea is you get exposure because people are going to come to see this act, when the reality is they come right before that act goes on.
Yeah, definitely.
And then they don't stay, right? And then you got a bunch of artists performing for just their couple fans that they brought in, and maybe some fans from the group that's going next. And then what really got to me was nobody stayed around to support the scene. Once you were off stage, you left. And you took your fans with you, and you all went to Tommy's or something.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not gonna lie. I used to be that guy. So you live, you learn. But now, as a person who throws shows, yeah, those peeps don't usually get booked again. Like,
and for me,
you're not gonna hang out and chill with us, and buy some drinks at the
scene,
bar.
right?
Like,
exactly. For me, it was about the scene. It wasn't about I got on stage and I rocked, and now I'm out. It was about I got on stage and rocked, and now I get to watch all these other dope acts, and now I get to hit these ciphers in the crowd with these other fools.
Right.
And I get to smoke a blunt in the back with this other promoter that has another night.
But if it's just a bunch of artists rapping for artists and no one really cares about anybody, then
nobody could do anything for anybody.
The show's gonna be dead.
So like I said, I came from a vibrant scene, and Pay to Play killed that for me, from my perspective.
So would you think? I mean, forgive me if I'm being a little too, conceited, giving myself too much credit. Do you think we're like what I'm doing with the Speakeasy? You think we're trying to bring that back a little bit?
And so that's
or hip hops.
That's definitely
hip hops, right? Like it's
well, I haven't been to hip hops yet. Oh yeah, the one. Oh, you're talking about
Golden Road.
I thought you were talking about the other one, the one you were doing the indie.
No. Yeah. We're talking about like.
But hip hop was dope.
Golden Road,
I really like that. That was really dope, and I can't wait for it to come back. But at the end of the day, we were when I went to Speakeasy, the vibe I got, and the reason why I think that we have forged the relationship, the friendship that we have so quickly, is because I see a lot of myself in you, like the hustle that I had, the passion I had for it. I see. Same thing with like Mezcal and East of the River.
Right.
They remind me of me when I was y'all's age.
Yeah, going hard.
And doing things for good reasons, not just because I'm a dope artist, but I'm a dope artist now. Let me help you with your cause. Let me help bring awareness to your causes. When I was at Cal State LA, we used to do themed hip hop nights. Like I did an Asian hip hop night.
Or Pacific Islander.
Well, we had a Filipino rapper, a Korean rapper.
So it was like that pan Asian identity type.
We had a female night where it was all female artists, from Sherm One on the graffiti to poets, rappers, everything. We did a Mecha. We co-sponsored a Mecha night and brought Spanish hip hop to the stage. And, I even did with the Black Student Union. We brought Caribbean cats up who, happened to be in town, and they came and dropped some Caribbean rhythms on us. And it wasn't even really hip hop. It was more kind of like a dance hall, like rock style.
Yeah.
But it was dope, and we had a great time. It was a really cool party. But I've always been socially conscious and socially aware and trying to, change society. Like, I think society is a great idea, but we're not doing it quite right yet.
We got some outdated software,
Yeah, we need to upgrade.
The hardware is like, we're not running the latest software. All right, man. We're down to our last 15 minutes, and I said that for sure I want to get to 3 things. The teacher strike and some tips and advice that you can give to young artists. So let's talk about the strike. It's over for those of you who don't know. So if anybody's been living under a rock for the last fucking 2-3 weeks or whatever,
this battle's over, but the war is still on. So right now we're knee deep in the fight for public education and everything. They're trying to privatize every freaking thing. So just like Donald Trump pulled out of Syria, all of a sudden Betsy DeVos's brother, who was the founder of Blackwater, is sending his mercenaries over to fill the void that the troops are going to leave, right? Because that's privatizing the war machine.
Right.
They're trying to do that to education as well. And so, as a teacher, as a union member, and I believe in unions. I think unions are very important because that's the buffer between the worker and the owners, and in this case, the administrators. And so I think it's very important that we're active in our unions. I think it's important that unions exist. And that they are, that they maintain their role in society to help workers be treated fairly, right? Until we change the economy, until the economy becomes a sharing economy or like a socialist democratic society, we need that buffer because capitalism's number one goal is make the most profit for the least cost, and the least cost is what you pay your workers.
Right.
So
you get that labor for cheap, basically.
So that's the large union picture. Teachers and public education, we have we're California is like number 43 in student spending and spending per pupil, but we're way up there when it comes to spending on inmates. So public education is being starved of funding first and foremost, and then on top of that, now they're allowing privatizers to come in and set up charter schools. And I won't say that all charters are bad. There are a handful that I could think of that I think are good and doing good things.
Run by former teachers, run by
Definitely.
they striked, they went.
I mean,
they were
Apex Academy comes up as one of them in East Hollywood. The other is Semillas de Pueblo and El Sereno. Those are basically like they're indigenous. They're part of the environment that they live in, the society that they live in, and they're trying to better them. But what happens when you get charters is they're taking public money and it's administered by private organizations who may be nonprofit, but just because the school's not turning a profit doesn't mean that
people aren't getting paid,
board members
right?
are paying themselves exorbitant amount of money and not spending it on students like they should be. That doesn't really happen in public schools. I mean, principals aren't giving themselves a raise, using the surplus of the budget that they save on their school to give themselves a raise. That's something that happens through bargaining,
right?
So it's important. We need to support teachers because teachers are there for students. And one of the misconceptions is that this was all about pay. Not the case. Our biggest victory was not allowing the district to set the terms of class size, right? We said we need class size change, and they said, okay, we'll change it, but we're going to also put a clause in there that says that we can take that away and raise class sizes.
If there's a budgetary emergency.
Yeah, if there's a budgetary emergency, but they define what a budgetary emergency is. So we took that power away from them. And that's, to me, is the biggest victory. And then the pay raise is cool. We haven't had a pay raise in, a long time. When we do get pay raises, they're not in proportion to other industries and other services and things like that. So, it's due time. So class sizes, the fact that we're going to have by 2020 one nurse full-time 5 days a week at schools, one librarian, one psychologist, the wraparound services that we need to help students. Students are coming up more with depression. Some people say because of the technology and the blue light from our screens and stuff like that. I don't know what it is, but I am seeing a lot more where, kids are coming up and they need to speak to somebody. They need to have access to those resources. So.
Well, congratulations on the victory.
Well, thank you.
I mean, there was a long time where it was scary, dude, to not know. It
still is. I mean, my next check is going to be really skinny, and I'm going to have to just struggle. But like I told people, I've struggled all my life, so this ain't new to me. What I'm worried for is the people who, just got a taste of being on and having a family and got a house, and now they're, scrambling, trying to figure out how they're going to make their next house payment because they're out of this money that we're losing in the strike. Now, we're going to get some money back in the long run, but I can't tell my bills. Yeah. I can't tell my rent. You got to just wait till next month and I'll have it for you.
Work along, like Trump would say, right? Work along. They're going to work along. All right, last 5 minutes. Give me some tips, advice for upcoming rappers and or teachers.
So I think
because we didn't even get
my
to talk
number
about
one
you as a
advice.
father.
My number one advice is just to be true to yourself. That's what I tell my kids. So we could get into me being a father. I have 3 beautiful children. And my oldest is 16, LA Sunshine. And then I have a 13-year-old, Marley Blaze, boy, Marley Blaze. And then my son, my youngest son, he's 7. His name is Damian Rey de Los Angeles. And, when people ask me how I'm doing, I always say I'm still free, I'm still alive, and my children still love me. So as long as that's going on, I'm ahead of the game. So, that is what the focus of my life is. And my number one advice to them and to everybody else is to just always be yourself, and never stop trying to find yourself and grow as a person and as a human being. This life is meant to be lived. Life is for the living, not to just sit around and wish things could be a certain way or want things to be a certain way or not want things to happen. Just go out and let life happen and then, build off of it and grow from it, That's what I would tell, 23-year-old me. Hey, take the risk. Compromise your art. See what happens. Maybe it's a good thing, do what they want for a while and then they'll let you do what you want if you're successful.
Or maybe you learn something along the way and you figure out how to fucking take over the machine.
Definitely. So that's, basically it. And, if you're going to be a teacher, make sure that this is what you want to do. Don't be a Teach for America who comes and does it for 2 years so you could finish your bachelor's. or start your master's, and then you just leave the poor kids when you go back to wherever it is you came from. What I call off the hill syndrome. You come off the hill to teach the poor kids, then you go back up on the hill and say, look at what I did for these, look at the great things I did for these poor kids.
And I left them there, yeah.
And you just leave them. So, yeah, if you're going to be a teacher, make sure your heart's in it. It's not an easy job. It's not for the faint of heart, man. It's heartbreaking at times. And it's also very invigorating, too. So.
And you have to go on strike every once in a while.
Yeah, every once in a while, yeah. You got to make those sacrifices, man. So.
Cool, man. Well, thank you for an awesome conversation.
No doubt. Just wanted to see if we could plug some things real quick.
Oh, yeah. That was my next thing, was tell people they can find you online.
Perfect.
And then we'll play out your song.
So I try to make it easy. All you have to do is Google Darkside90024, all one word, and all of my social medias and everything related to me comes up. If you just Google Darkside, a whole bunch of stuff, Star Wars comes up, and then there's this producer from Chile. Shout out to him. Is it Chile? Buenos Aires? Where's Argentina?
No, Argentina.
Buenos Aires, Argentina. There's a cat named Darkside from Queens who spells his name with a 4 and a 3.
You were going to battle him, right?
Yeah. When I went out to New York, I was challenged to a battle, but he's the one I think that was from Chile or Peru or something like that. So Darkside90042, that's DARKSIDE 90042. All my social medias come up. I got SoundCloud. I got Bandcamp, CD Baby, Spotify. You could find me under Dark Innocence. That's my latest project with me and the homie Moti Beats. Mine are the Innocent Beats. We got a project called Dark Innocence, and that's on CD Baby. So you can find me there. You just type in Dark Innocence 1, I believe, the number 1, and it'll come up. And then on Spotify, same thing, Dark Innocence.
And what's up with this song we're about to play? And if
so
you're gonna watch on YouTube, we're gonna put putting the video up.
So the first song that we played was called "They'd Rather See Me Lose," featuring DJ Seedless on the first verse, and then DJ Mino from Numerous Cat was on the cuts. This next song we shot a video for. It's called "Take It or Leave It," and it's just a little grimy, real lyrical thing. We put the video up just recently, and I've just been pushing it out. Through my social medias, trying to get people to watch it, get eyes on it.
For sure. Well, we're gonna fucking play it right now. We're gonna put the video on at the end of the YouTube, and
Dope.
If you're listening live or if you're listening on the podcast, go check out my YouTube channel. Go find me everything that has to do with SHNEAKY at SHNEAKY.net. And February's coming up, so if y'all want to catch me at any of my February events. On February 8th, we'll be doing Speakeasy again at the Redwood Room. On February 9th, we'll be back at Indy for Beer My Valentine. February 10th is the East Los Angeles Art Walk, and I'm going to have DJs and vendors and all the good things we always bring. And then on the 12th, I'll be back at Katie Jake's in Covina, and I'll be performing some new music off a new project I have coming up, along with Poetic Force, one of the old school homies from back in the day. So, a lot coming up. Check out SHNEAKY ENT for all the upcoming events, flyers, and all that. I'll be posting up things on my personal @official SHNEAKY page about Darkside and the sponsors and all the podcast stuff. So if you like what we're doing here, you're interested, make sure you subscribe, make sure you leave us a rating. All of it helps. Share, comment, tell your peeps about it. Follow us on everything. Follow the sponsors. Let's keep this freaking community building. And
no doubt.
Look forward for all the dope shit that we got coming up.
And one thing I forgot was, if you're interested in working towards ending homelessness like we are, make sure you go to Artists United to End Homelessness on Facebook. And I believe it's just AUEH on Instagram. So follow us and come to our events, support, and come help us end this crisis.
And a side note, John is actually going to be at the next Speakeasy.
Perfect.
He's going to come an hour before so we could chat about stuff.
And John is from Orange County Music League.
Yeah.
Well,
we met.
Connect,
we actually met, and I was super impressed with everything he's doing. We're actually talking about
big things,
trying to throw a benefit show to buy another Shower for Hope.
Yeah,
to
that's
buy them
dope.
another
I
vehicle.
remember you were saying something about that.
That's kind of what we're so.
There's a lot of things happening, man. We're doing great things. That's what I like about
On top of that,
SHNEAKY.
just one more thing, last connection. If y'all remember, I forget what episode where I had the Black and Brown movement on.
Shout out to the homies.
I met those cats through this cat, and it's just a testament of more people that are legitimately doing the work, not just talking about it. The homies are out there doing youth programs. We got teachers striking. We're trying to artists are uniting to end homelessness. We're trying to buy showers, like tangible, real goals to do real things to affect our communities in real ways. So if you fucks
Better
with that,
world is possible.
if that's what you're about, then you need to click up, follow, link in, tap in. Take this journey with us.
And we have a good time while we're doing it too. I think that's what's dope, man.
We have the most
always
fun.
have a good
We
time
have
while
the
we're
most
doing it,
fun.
brother. Yes, sir.
I mean, if people listen to half of this conversation, it was just about getting fucked
I mean,
up.
we really are a revolutionary party.
Yeah.
We gotta put the party on
and
there.
that's why we're at the after party, dog.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're out of
It's been a
here.
great night,
The name
man.
of this song?
This is called Take It or Leave It,
Take It or Leave It from Darkside90024.
off the Dark Innocence album. Fall down 7 times, get up 8.
We're here every Monday night from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on the west side of the after party. I love all of you. I appreciate all of you. And Brittany, take us out.
These streets will have you twisted, just trying to survive. Every morning my eyes open, I'm grateful to be alive. Arrived at this ripe old age, not by mistake, but because I properly weigh every decision that I make. All hard, never half heart, half mind. Me and my crew are no joke. Ultron when we combine, inclined to cause damage. Like I say time just to stop the beating. Got your whole squad retreated. Harbor microphone collected, defeated. Every challenge a reason being. We seasoned in the scene, been doing it for stripes, and life is but a dream. It seems an American nightmare. You got guns, they got drones. What you expect them to fight fair? Take flight in their lines. They say it's not fair. Minds are battle tested. I stay invested in protecting my investment. You're lucky if you're left with a breath in your body. Got me on my English shit, teaching lessons. If I told you once, yo, I never say it twice. Don't make me come out the frame, cause it ain't nothing nice. You wanna play the game, you're gonna have to pay the price and be ready for anything is my only advice. Testing boundaries, bounding obstacles, I'm bound to be reaping the bounty of my labor. Savor the flavor of victory, nectar sweet. Protect your fleet, the stench of defeat lingers. 5 fingers ain't shit to a fist. You get the middle, the Bozak and the dill stick. Real quick to put you out your misery, brutally slow. I don't usually go out of my way to slay a snake when I'm too busy hunting dragons. Fire breather, non-believer, sending you to your afterlife. Meet your maker, taker of souls, creator of flows that are formidable. I'm unforgettable, legitimate. I go for the gusto. To be unforgettable is my goal, so I bust those flows like jewels to a fix in the crown. I come on with the style and show you how I get down. So back the fuck up off me. I'm fresher than any oddity. If I'm in the house, it's getting torn down. More likely than probably. I told you once, yo, I never say it twice. Don't make me come out the frame, cause it ain't nothing nice. You wanna play the game, you gotta have to play the game to be ready for anything is my only advice. If I told you once, yo, I never say it twice. Don't make me come out the frame, cause it ain't nothing nice. You wanna play the game, you're gonna have to pay the price and be ready for anything is my only advice.